translating Latin today? Can we translate Norsemen or whatever they speak?
Norse?
Norse, yeah.
I would if I knew it, maybe. But I don't, alas. I used to have a Norse text on my bookshelf, but I'm not sure if I have it. Oh wait, did Ben already show up? Is he right on time today?
Is he on time today?
Oh my gosh, incredible.
Where's your camera supposed to come in? It's been like 3 weeks.
It has not been 3 weeks. It'll probably actually be 3 weeks.
It's only the second week of school.
They prioritize them at first. All right.
Only the second week of school. I don't want it to be the second week. I want it to be like the 44th week. Wait, we only go for 30 weeks.
Everyone say hello to Ben.
Hi, Ben.
You want to listen?
No, you don't.
Ben is there. Wait, why did that pop back up? All right. I don't know if you can see his camera. Well, wait, can I do this? His camera is off, which is.
Hi.
Hey, Ben. So, Ben, is that LTA Snow Day? Let's chill out, guys. Is that LTA Snow Day website that's working out?
Yeah, it's working. It's very cool.
Yeah, I think it's cool. Only Mr. Brubaker is using it. I'm trying to get all the teachers, but they're still they insist on emailing parents for some reason. I have no idea why. But yeah, so I'm not going to email them. Maybe once a week. But you and Ella can just go there every day. I've been why did the heater turn on? Crazy. That's horrible. Y'all smell that heater?
I can't smell anything because it's so bad with math.
No, I do. I have my. If you want to read some Norse literature, you can borrow this if you want. You don't have to. But, yeah. Okay, guys. So first things first, I want to clarify that translation that I myself was kind of confused on yesterday. So remember, aliquid numquam anti auditum in hoc re publica cerno. I insist this is kind of a clunky, not great sentence that has some ambiguity to it, so I'm not totally responsible for being caught off guard by it yesterday. But yeah, I mean, we were going about it kind of wrong, actually. So here is the declension for aliquid. I searched through the book. I was like, was there a point where they gave us aliquid? It is basically qui quod, but yeah, it's qui quod plus alias. If you remember alias, which we saw maybe a couple of days ago from chapter 11, meaning other. So yeah, it's like someone or anyone or something. And Kerno is like I discern or perceive. So that part starts straightforward enough. Aliquid here, it could be a nominative, but our verb is first person singular. So there's really no way it could be nominative. So it has to be accusative. So that part is super clear cut. I discern something or someone or anyone. That part, like we got it. But then it gets weird from there. For one thing, I think we were applying numquam never to Kerno, like we were negating Kerno, like I never discern. But the reason that we shouldn't have done that is because the syntax actually indicates that numquam is not going to go with Kerno, just because it's so far away from Kerno. An adverb usually likes to be kind of close to the verb it's modifying, except maybe in poetry or like Virgil is really kind of wilding out with his syntax. But what could numquam be modifying as an adverb? It's kind of weird. Anna? Yeah, very good. So auditum, that was our participle, right? We knew that yesterday, but we just didn't quite know, or I didn't know if it was modifying the I or the aliquid. Okay. That is a participial phrase. You guys really should approach these participles as though they are simultaneously verbs and adjectives. Thus, either way, if it's an adjective or a verb, numquam can modify that. So this is actually a super common phrase in English, which is what makes me think that it wouldn't actually occur in Latin in this way. This does kind of feel more like artificial Latin than some of our sentences do. So just reading left to right, how should we take numquam anti auditum? I discern something.
Never before hearing.
Never before, not hearing, because that would be present active. Never before.
Having heard it.
Yeah. So technically, it'd be like having heard. having heard it. But what's way more succinct is just never before heard, right? So it's almost like we were kind of overcomplicating because that's literally just going left to right. So never before heard in this state, as in like they're witnessing something that they haven't seen before. So yeah, that one's kind of weird, but maybe it's not that weird, and we're all just a little collectively rusty, including me, I guess. In this republic, though, is ablative of place where, and that's really straightforward. Okay, is this the homework? Is this the homework?
Yeah.
Okay. Weird.
Maybe.
It is. Why is it going to that, though? I want to go to this. I might have to go back to that. All right, before we check the homework, which is, I mean, some of that was complex, too. We'll see how you guys did with that. Today on the schedule is that we are reviewing chapter 13, 11 on Monday, 12 yesterday, with the perfect tense, now 13. I think you guys do pretty good with all three of these things. This was a chapter when we got reflexive pronouns, possessive, reflexive adjectives, and intensive pronouns. So it was like two adjectives and a pronoun-ish adjective thrown in there. I mean, sorry, two types of pronouns and an RPA, a reflexive possessive adjective. So let's just brush up on this, and you guys can tell me how you feel about it. So reflexive pronouns. Reflexive pronouns are just repurposing another kind of pronoun that we reviewed on Monday. What is that? Anyone?
Kind of like that.
Kind of. They're just gonna repurpose, which is a weird word to use, but they're reusing the personal pronouns, the first and second person personal pronouns. Then I'm walking over to the thermostat. Is my voice getting harder to hear?
Kind of.
No? Okay. Somehow I accidentally turned on the heater, and now it smells like a heater that hasn't been used in 9 months. Okay. So these personal pronouns, like ego, mei, mihi, mei, right? That is what we at this up until this point thought was a personal pronoun, but in a sentence where it is matching the person of the subject, it will become reflexive. Because I wouldn't say I praised me, right? I would say I praised myself. So myself is the reflexive version of what had previously just been a personal pronoun, me. Okay? So on this side we have reflexive on the left side, on the right side we have personal. So I praise myself versus you praised me. You is second person, so me is not going to become reflexive for it. Cicero praised himself as reflexive versus just Cicero praised him. That him is like another dude. It's not Cicero. Okay, let's keep on moving. It's going to get more simple as we go. Here are some more examples. So let's see. I want the Latin ones, though. I'm just going to keep. Oh, here we have some. Cicero praised himself versus next slide. I'm going to the next slide. Here we go. Okay, so the ones on the left, those were previously personal, right? But if they're showing up in a sentence and they match the person of the subject, and I suppose number two, they need to match the person and number of the subject, they will become reflexive. And notice there are no nominatives because the whole idea is that these pronouns are reflecting the nominative back at itself. And so you can't have a reflexive pronoun if it's nominative, if that makes sense. They're going to be something other than nominative. They're going to be reflecting the nominative back at itself. So the first person singular ones will become myself as opposed to just me. The plural will become ourselves instead of us, or our rather. And then second person singular is going to become yourself. Plural, it's still yourself actually. And then third person is the only one that actually gets these distinct new forms. That is sui, sibi, se. Okay, because if a third person subject is being reflected, you wouldn't use the is, a, it. You wouldn't use he, she, or it, because that would just be a separate third person. It'd be a second, third person. That sounds so weird. But if you do want to reflect the third person, you're going to use our friend sui, sibi, se, which I really love this guy because A, it's only 4 forms. We don't have a nominative. We don't have a vocative. So sui is the first one that starts with the genitive. And then they can either be singular or plural. Now let's look at some examples and it's going to clarify. Because you're probably like, wait, what is this again? So tu te lauda visti. Lauda visti is what tense, McKinley? Visti? V-I-S-T-I? What the?
It looks third.
It looks third. Do we have any third person verbs that end in I? I didn't know if we had any verbs that ended in I. What the?
I was looking at the-
McKinley, if I'm asking you about a verb, well, Ben, what tense is it? What tense is laudavisti, that verb you see at the top on the first example? I just want to see if that works. Not sure? Maybe he went to get a glass of water. Isaiah?
He has been praising. He has been praising himself.
Not with tu and te. Uh-huh.
He praised himself.
Close, but it's tu and te. So we're doing second person examples first. But you basically have it except for that. Jack?
You praised yourself.
Yeah, so first of all, McKinley, this is perfect tense, okay? All right, so it's this guy right here. Really stands out. It's what we reviewed yesterday.
Oh, I
So-
thought you were talking about the second one, not the first one.
Oh, no, I know this is it feels kind of randomly organized here, but we're looking at the first one. So yeah, it's going to be you, that's a nominative, which we don't even need this guy here, right? Normally he wouldn't be there. I'm just doing it to kind of illustrate this. We would just have the verb ending and know that it's second person. But you praised yourself. You wouldn't say you praised you, right? Te here that's the same word we'd use for if we did want it to be just you and not yourself. But in this context, since the subject is second person and the direct object is also second person, it's going to become reflexive. Does that make sense? Be honest, does it? No? No? All right, Kikero, te laudawit, though. I flip flop. The first one is going to be reflexive. The second one is a reflexive, or is te here just a good old personal? It's just personal, yeah. So I go, it's every other. I'll just tell you now. Because that Cicero praised you, right? So this is second person. This is third person. Nothing here is reflexive. It's just a good old personal pronoun. But what about nos laudavimos nos? Because remember, nos can be nominative or accusative. So sometimes it's we, sometimes it's us, depending on if it's nominative or accusative. Isaiah? Yeah. Because we wouldn't want to say we praised us. That just sounds weird to us. So it's we praised ourselves. The second nos accusative. Again, you would never you just wouldn't need this nos. That'd be confusing. That'd be weird. And then we have Kikero praised us. And in that case, it's just personal because Cicero's third, nos is first plural, not reflexive. De ego mihi litera scripsi. Oh, that you just want to do that, Jack, real quick?
I write a letter to you.
To you, not to
No,
me.
to me.
Yeah. So I wrote a letter to me,
To myself.
myself. Yeah. Actually, that one doesn't sound horrible if you try to take it personally. I write a letter to me. No, that still sounds pretty weird. Myself sounds more correct because mihi there would be reflexive. Because what person are both ego and mihi, McKinley? First, second, or third?
First.
Yeah, they're both first person. So since mihi is the second first person thing that's happening here, it's going to be reflexive of ego. We want it to be myself, not me. Whereas Kikero, he can write letters to just good old me. If he said Cicero wrote letters to myself, that would be weird in a different way than the other ones were weird. Kikero say laudawit, though. Don't forget about sui sibi se. So what does Kikero say laudawit? This is something Cicero would do. Knowing Kikero. Alec?
Cicero praised himself.
Yeah, exactly. Cicero praised himself versus Cicero praised him. This him being some other guy. It's not Cicero. It's some other person. So that's reflexive pronouns. Y'all feel pretty good about that? The nice thing is, first and second, you don't have to remember any new words or forms. They're just the personal ones that are being used in a second way. But sui sibi se you do technically have to remember. But I mean, it's easy to remember sui sibi se. I love remembering it. I wish the actual third person personal pronouns were as easy to remember as sui sibi se. Then we have this thing called reflexive possessive adjectives. And these, again, are actually adjectives that we had all along. Meus, mine, noster, our, tuus, your, investor, y'all's is. But now they're going to have a reflexive energy because of the same reason that those pronouns we were just looking at are reflexive. They will match the person of the subject. So you could say I have my book. That's fine. There's nothing grammatically wrong with that. But it sounds a little nicer on the ears in English to say I have my own book. It has that reflexive energy. So basically you're just adding own to my and our and your and y'all's. It would just be your still. But yeah, that's about it. Noster, what's our example for noster? Are there no examples? That'd be our own, to us is your own, investors, your own. And then for third person, just like with reflexive pronouns, we have to get a new adjective for that. Because eos isn't going to cut it, right? We're good old eos in this like slightly illegible color. Eos is his or her, but it's like a different his or her than the subject. So in this example we have here, Cicero amicum suum laudavit, that Cicero praised his own friend, because this is suum amicum. It's not some random his friend. It's Cicero's own friend. Does that make sense? Kind of, Jack?
Yeah, I said, you have my own book for Meo Librum Habeo.
To have my own book. Oh, where? Yeah, thank you. Whoops. And that should be white. I was just thinking, like, what if somehow we no, he's still there. Okay, good. All right. Good. Okay, so yeah, those examples about sum this up. So the first one is an example of a reflexive possessive adjective. The second one is just a good old possessive adjective. Cicero praised his friend. This eos, right? Don't forget about eos. It shows up a lot. It means his or her or its maybe. That's a third dude. So Cicero's one guy. The friend is a second dude. This his, that's some third person that like we don't know that person. Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah? Maybe? Okay.
Yeah.
Romani. So Romans praised what? Amicum suum. Romans praised. How are we going to translate that? Yeah, their own friends. Versus this one is Romans praised their friends. This there being a third entity. Okay, it is not the Romans. It is not the friends. It's a third person. Whereas in the reflexive example, it's just two entities at play. All right, guys. That was 2/3 of that chapter. The final third of that chapter are intensive pronouns. These are really cool to me. They're not too bad. This is probably the only ending that's a little weird, okay? We're not super used to masculine nominative singulars ending in E, and everything after it is normal. We have the IUS genitive ending that pronouns love. We have the long I dative ending that kind of seems third declension-y. And then after that, it's literally just first and second declension across the board. This is in your book, but if you want to try to get some of it down. And these just emphasize a noun or pronoun usually that they're right next to. So depending on what it's next to, like you're going to need to know what it's next to translate it, but it'll be like myself or yourself or itself, depending on what it's intensifying. So our examples of that are, maybe okay to go to the next slide. Because I'm okay with waiting a little bit. Right, I'm going to click. So yeah, it'd be like Cicero ipse me laudavit. What would that be? Wait, I thought I changed the second example. Oh, ignore the second example. I changed that during class earlier today. But this first example is good. What is that going to be? So you just have to figure out what word the intensive pronoun is intensifying, as in like what is it actually agreeing with in terms of case, number, and gender. Is ipse there going with may or Cicero? Alan? Yeah, it's going with Cicero. So the way we know that is Cicero is a third person singular masculine guy, and so it's going to go with him. Whereas may, it could be accusative or ablative, so it's not ipsum or ipso. It can't be going with may. So what would that be? We want to intensify Cicero. So it's going to be Cicero himself praised me. Exactly. Cicero himself praised me. Ipse is modifying Cicero there, not may, so it's getting intensified. And in your translation, it'll probably be right next to the thing it's intensifying. It doesn't have to be. You could say Cicero praised me himself. That's fine too. But you might as well just keep it up close next to the thing it's modifying. And then I still don't like that second example, so I changed it to Kaiser urbum ipsum delewit. So here, ipsum, it should be very clear beyond just the fact I underlined it, that ipsum is modifying urbim, not Kaiser. Even if it was right next to Kaiser on the other side of urbim, we would still say, oh, it's either nominative neuter and Kaiser's a guy and not a guy, or it's accusative. So it must not be going with Kaiser, who is in its nominative. It's going with city. So Caesar destroyed the city itself. So there's going to be itself instead of himself, because you don't Sometimes we ginger cities, but not always. Not always. How are y'all doing on this? Y'all actually get it, or you're just kind of saying you get it because you want to get to the homework, which is it's good homework. But y'all are good. Y'all seem everyone's really quiet today. There must be something different about the way I'm teaching this year, where like everyone's like really quiet in my class, which is good, but or maybe the cameras have people kind of thrown off. Okay. So that was the grammar for chapter 13. You know, we'll keep reviewing this stuff, so some of that will come back up, but I'm just going to assume y'all are actually feeling pretty good about it. Let's jump through the vocabulary real quick. I remember DVTI, DVTarum. It's loading. DVTI. What was that? Y'all had a lot of trouble remembering this word last year. I think it was that it didn't have any good related words. Like divine is not a related word, or if it is, it doesn't really help. But it's riches and wealth. What do y'all notice about it? It's what declension? First. And it's,
Genitive.
yeah. Well, wait, you said genitive?
Yes.
So there is a genitive there, but are these singular or plural, Ben? Both of them.
They're plural.
Yes. They're always plural. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing about DVTI. It is always plural. Because if you think about riches and wealth, that's a thing that is always just like a lot of it. You can't just have like, I have one wealth. I have one rich. There's just always plural. Factum. That came up yesterday, didn't it? Maybe for another class. What is factum anyway? It's kind of related to Fakio-Fakura. No, Fakio-Fakura is like to act or to do. What is something that has been done? It's a good or deed. Yeah, very good. This is deed. Or act or achievement. Act is okay too, I guess. Signum, that one's real easy. Sign. What declension is it, Eliza? Is it first, second, third, fourth, or fifth? Isn't that crazy? It is just second. Is it masculine or neuter, though? That would be signus. So the fact that it's ending in um in the nominative, that's what makes it be neuter. Yeah, don't forget about good old second declension neuter. Here is, what kind of pronouns do we call these? Just learn them. Yeah, intensive. So both of those words start with I. So we don't really know what these are going to be until we see the context they're in. But it's like itself, himself, yourself. It can be any of those things. It can intensify a first, second, or third person noun. Quisque, this one never comes up. It's each one. You're thinking of quid, McKinley. Each one, but that one like never comes up, so I won't even worry about it too much. Sui, what kind of pronoun is this? Yeah, reflexive.
Reflexive.
Exactly, they're third person reflexive. In what case is this one specifically? Not well. You'd think it's nominative because it's the first one when you say sui, sibi, say. But remember, reflexive pronouns. Yeah, reflexive pronouns don't have a nominative, so it's genitive. Good. So this would be like of, himself, herself, itself. Well, look at those related words. That's dark. Okay. Let's see. Doctus. And it has to do with yeah.
Isn't it like taught?
Yeah. It means taught or learned. People still don't believe me that learned is a word, but it is. A learned scholar. You just don't want to say learned. That would be wrong. Unless you're talking about the verb, like I learned something. But yeah, this is coming from Dokeo Dikeri. It's, what is it, guys? It's very relevant to this chapter. They're telling us it's just a good old adjective, but if we break it down, it's actually it's a perfect passive participle, right? Isn't it? Like having been taught, having been verbed, because it's coming from that fourth principal part and then treated like an adjective, even though it's originating from a verb. Fortunatus, ooh, that one's tough.
Oh, let me guess.
Fortunate, because it's a what part of speech? Adjective, good. Yeah. Suicidum. So what was our annoyingly three-word term for this?
Wasn't it like blank own, like if it was masculine to be his own?
Yeah, exactly. And we call those, his own, exactly. So reflexive, possessive, adjective. I tried to make RPA a thing last year, but that shouldn't even catch on because like we need to think of a better something. Reflex, so like ref, pos, adj. That'd be hard to say too. Nom, what is nom? It's a conjunction Anyone?
Is it, now?
So-
Four.
Yeah, for, good. So like for, once in a while, I like to use an old-timey conjunction. Anti, before, or yeah, before. This is not the anti like A-N-T-I, like against something or opposed to something. This is before. It takes an accusative or ablative. Yeah, good. Per,
Perfect.
through, accusative or ablative, Anna? Also accusative, yeah. So we got 2 accusative prepositions that chapter. Olim, this is how you start fairy tales. Yeah, good. Once.
Once upon a time, there was a script.
Yep, and now we got 3 or 4 verbs. Alo, alera?
Oh,
To support.
Yeah, or nourish, good. Somebody in another class thought of ambulo, ambulari, to walk, but that's a different A one. Yeah, this is to nourish, support, sustain, increase. Alimony, we get a lot of cool stuff from it. Diligo, deligra, this is kind of synonymous with amo, amare. Yeah, to love or esteem. I'll be honest, guys, I've never heard anyone use esteem as a verb. Until I taught this class, I did not know it was a verb. Everyone says like uses it in the context of self-esteem, but apparently, remember this book is written around World War II era, like right after the war. So there's some slightly old-timey things. So it is the 7th
so we
edition.
have a bar next, bro? That's probably wow.
Yeah, that's true. Like yeah, steaming yourself. What, McKinley?
Well, why don't we use the more modern text?
Well, that's what editions are for. This is the 7th edition, so it's been
Oh.
updated 7 times in the past 70 years. But there are some remnants of, you can tell it's like aimed at veterans who are getting home from the war in the trenches. There's certain like anti-materialistic things. It talks about like not coveting wealth and stuff because a lot of veterans were coming home and they didn't have a lot of money and stuff. Iongo, iungara means to what? Anyone? We get conjunction from this. To join, yeah. So check out that awesome 3rd principal part, perfect stem. I have joined. The X shows up to make it very clear that it's perfect tense. Sto, starry, steady, stockman's what I just started doing again.
Stand.
Yep,
Stand.
I do it all day long. Okay, and that's all of them for chapter 13. Not bad, right? Now let's look at the homework. So I need to go to the first half of this for some reason. And then we did that. But the last one, they all seem like they had something difficult. Going on. But yeah, let's get to them. So get that out and let's check them. Who wants to read this first one, which also starts with Oliquist. I found out I barely knew we actually had. The book does not really cause too much about. Jack? Non-delivery. Good. What did you get for this? You can just say it.
I do not love someone who always
Yeah, that's pretty great. There's maybe a slightly like even better way to do it, but like that's correct. Yeah, I do not love someone who is always seeking a gift, is what you said. Who? So, So yeah, so the who is fine. You're actually fine for adding the who, but there's actually a way we can do it without that kind of additional pronoun that you got in there. Anybody get anything?
Oh.
Just what?
I do not love someone always seeking.
Yeah, because that's just like a little more quick, and it's like you're not adding anything at that point. But we'll learn with the other examples. It is actually okay. Sometimes it's necessary to kind of add pronoun type information, so that's actually fine. But yeah, I do not love non-diligo. That part is easy. And then aliquim, that part is easy too. Aliquim has to be accusative, whereas aliquid and the one I got mixed up on that we went over at the beginning of class, that one could have been nominative, but aliquim has to be accusative, masculine or feminine. So the first word and the last 2 words, that's easy. I do not love someone. Okay, that's easy. But then we run into dona, simperte tentum, and things get a little weird. What's weird about this? Like, what did y'all run into with this that like really kind of confused you and threw you off? Because there's like a couple things that are really weird about this. Were y'all all, yeah, Jack?
Like, I kind of got a little tripped up on diligo, I guess. Like the verb itself, we never see that a lot.
Yeah, we haven't seen that a lot. I would have gotten tripped up on dona a little bit. Dona is just what case? It's
neuter, but
it's second declension neuter, and so here it's plural. We basically know once we realize that the verb is first person, this can't be the subject, it has to be an accusative. But what's weird about it being accusative? There's something like pretty weird about the fact that dona is accusative. What is it right next to? What is aliquim again? Yeah, so we have like these two accusatives right next to each other. It's kind of weird. When I was first looking at this, like now I'm always looking for participles. So I was like, wait, is donut somehow a participle? It's not. That would be like data, do dare, dedi, datum, datum. So it is just a good old noun gift. But yeah, the fact that it is its direct object or a direct object right next to olicum, also a direct object, is weird. So these three words here, we call them participial phrases, and they're kind of like relative clauses. They're not quite as separate from a sentence as a relative clause is, but just like relative clauses, they can have their own direct object, which is kind of mind-blowing to me a little bit. It's kind of weird. So that's weird. Yeah, donut, it's like we don't want to mess with donut as a direct object until we know what the participle is doing, which is patentum. Uh-huh.
Isn't that like part of the tradition to give gifts?
That's true.
To expect a gift when you
I guess they're specifically not talking about Saturnalia, because on Saturnalia, you're supposed to give a gift to everyone. And I think it's like you're even supposed to like maybe ask them what they even want or something like that. Or
Well, that's a lot of gifts to give out. I'm sure some people get things.
yeah, I know, right? So okay, our participle is patentum. What is it? A present active one, perfect passive, or one of the two future participles? Yeah, good. So it has that third declension looking case ending, which is accusative in itself. All of these are, well, patentum specifically is agreeing with the case of aliquem, because it's kind of expanding on aliquem. Not just, I don't love someone, I love someone is always seeking gift, always verbing a certain kind of direct object. So patentum is kind of referring back to and modifying aliquem, and then it gets its own direct object, which at least I think is really weird. And synthere is modifying the verby part of patentum. So always verbing gifts. Again, what Jack did, honestly, adding to it initially, it's actually fine. And we're going to see some examples in some of these where like you kind of need to do that. Any questions on that one? McKinley, what'd you get? If y'all had a lot of trouble with this, I do not blame you at all. We're really playing professional baseball now. Like, I feel like it starts with 23, honestly. The build up to 23 from like 17 to 20-ish, like it gets a little complex, but like we're really doing big kid Latin now, to put it in a way that makes it sound goofy. But yeah, this is difficult. But what'd you come up with for your translation?
Some gifts are not always made for love. I think I got some of the words
Not
mixed
always
up.
made for love. So yeah, remember, try not to like invent anything that's not in the Latin. Try to simplify it when you can. But I'm glad you did have an actual translation. At the very least, as long as you have a translation, just never come in here without a translation. Though I might try something with you guys where you'll technically be allowed to stop writing out your translation. This very much is like a college level, upper level seminar, Latin seminar. If you take Latin in college, your low level classes will be pretty big classes. But then if you're like doing like Latin 3000 or 4000, it'll be a room of like 7 to like 15 people max, and you'll just be sitting around a table, and you'll just like whip out Gallicore and just like go through it slowly, and no one actually has to write out their translations. You're just supposed to come prepared to talk about the translations. So we might do that in here where we just kind of like hang out. You don't actually have to, you'll still take notes. You'll take plenty of notes, but you wouldn't need to necessarily write out your translation, because writing a translation is different than when you're actually just reading it. At high level Latin, you're supposed to just like be able to read Latin and not really like write out what you would translate that if you were to theoretically translate. Anyway, who wants to read this out loud? My college seminar students. Y'all gonna make Jack read it a second one? I gotta get you gotta warm up the Latin pronunciation again. You're gonna forget how to say Latin words. All right, Jack can do this one, but he's not allowed to do any of the other ones.
Ad ludum tuum filium meam docendum.
Good. I guess we can have Ben read one too. Good. So let's see. Ad ludum tuum filium meum docendum we see. This one isn't too bad, but it's one of the first times we are messing with this kind of participle. So there's obviously gonna be some kind of trial and error with that. What did you get, Jack?
I got your son sent my learned son.
To the wolf.
Yeah, that's. I don't know. Or to the field.
Oh, you're thinking of lupus. So we did get ludus. I think it's a second declension. It can mean game or school. In this context, it's clear that it's school. So anyway, beyond that, you're pretty close, but you made one critical error. So you think like my son is the subject somehow, right?
Your son.
Or I'm sorry, your son. So it can't be because what person is the verb? And I want Jack and McKinley to answer this. What person, number, and tense is Nisi? Second. Huh? It's first. So that was your big issue. If you had caught that, it would have been different. Singular, what tense, McKinley?
It's you.
Remember, if I'm asking you, then it might, at least for just this week, it might mean that it is
Perfect.
It is perfect. But yeah. So if I ask you about tense, remember to glance up here, and you can just check this pink column here, and it's this guy right here. It's from Mito, Mitra, Misi, Misunt, and it has that long I, which once you actually realize this is a verb, because that's probably the big issue is that you might not even realize that's a verb. Once you do, it can only be first singular perfect. So anyway, it's I have sent, and then so what is the case of tuum, filium, Eliza? Jack kind of like wanted it to be a subject, maybe if the son's gender was not disclosed or something. I don't know. But what is it actually? It's not nominative. Yeah. So it's probably the what? Do I do the color? Yep. Okay, it's a direct object, good. Whereas ad ludum tuum, that part is really straightforward. Ad ludum tuum should just be what? Yeah, so I have verb, I have sent my direct object son to your school, and then docendum is the new grammar part. That's the part that's actually supposed to be kind of tricky. Isaiah, what kind of participle is it? Present active, perfect passive, or one of the two future active? If it was future active, it'd be like, what would that be like? It'd be like, I can't even think of it. It'd be it'd be doctorum, but it's docendum. So the thing, right, it's passive. So the thing to look for, the future ones are weird, and hopefully we just don't see too much future active because I think they're nutty. Is to look for the N and the D right next to each other. I know that seems like such a minor detail to be able to pick up and be like, oh, that's a future passive participle, but that's like kind of a way to do it. That ND should actually stand out. We haven't had a lot of Latin words have that ND show up. And we've talked about agenda means must be done. Miranda must be looked at. Amanda means must be loved, etc. Whereas NS and NT are the thing to look for present active, and UR is the thing for future active. Those will all take a little bit of time, but we're technically spending like 2.5 weeks on chapter 23, so you got time. But anyway, so docendum, that part, Jack, I think you got right. But wait, did you just say learned for docendum?
Yeah.
That would just be doctum. So this should be what? Anyone?
Learning.
Kind. That would be more like dokens, present active. Not quite. This is really tricky though. But no one has like another example. It's okay. That's why it's good that we're gonna spend so much time on this chapter because it's kind of crazy. So it's I have sent my son to your school to be taught.
Oh.
So yeah, if we go back, I kind of want to go back to my big version of the chart where it tells us exactly what our options are for the future passive. It's right here. So it's to be verbed or even deserving to be verbed. Those are your options, right? Those guys right there. So yeah, it's weird. We don't have anything like that where we've just like kind of gotten two words out of thin air like that, to be. We're just getting the to be verbed out of the fact that this is dokeo dokeri, which means to teach, and once we realize it is a future passive, we can put it all together. But yeah, that's kind of hard. That's why we're in like all the way completely real Latin now.
What is your color scheme there? It's still in the past. It looks like it's a direct object, but I can't figure out what happened.
On the PowerPoint right now, it's giving you weird color options. These are all like muted, weird, kind of like brownish colors. So I'm actually not looking at what my color scheme was last spring. But I'm still trying to make direct object red. So this is a lighter red, so this is like direct object red, and this darker red is accusative of place toward red. And I think I was doing genitive as pink. Maybe I can still do that. And I think I was doing dative as blue and ablative as green. Okay. But anyway, don't freak out if you didn't get this one. These are really hard. And we're going to keep practicing. We're going to do the we'll do a little more like Iones. We'll do the 38 Latin stories, which I think is Cicero or Julius Caesar, and there's a story at the end of the chapter. So we'll practice all of those before y'all have a translation quiz on those. Who wants to read this one in Latin? Ben?
Okay.
Thank you.
His indeed
Good.
his insidiis in teriti vitiam meseram science. One sec. Science. Spee? I think that's how you pronounce it.
Be like spay.
Spay. Thank you. Spay vivemus.
Good. So his insidiis teriti vitam miseram sine spe vivemus. This one isn't too bad, isn't there? There's something kind of weird about this one. Okay, Ben, what'd you come up with for this? Wait, Ben, you had these sentences, right? Did I? Oh, no.
Wow.
No. I need to turn this alarm.
Eh.
Sorry. What's that, Ben?
Oh, it's Monday morning.
Like, did I get these sentences to you, or did I mess up there and not get them to you?
I don't think I received these. I've been trying to find them,
I mean,
but I can try spot translating it.
No, I probably made sure like the 7th and 8th grade kids had their lecciones, but this is from the workbook, so you wouldn't have to.
Translating.
Sorry about that.
The page.
So I will not translate it because that'd be impossible. But yeah, sorry. In the future, I will make sure you get your workbook stuff. Obviously, if it's a textbook, you can just find it, but this was in the workbook. Only I have the workbook. Does anybody want to try to take a crack at this one? Be confident, McKinley.
Pretty sure my translation's wrong, but I'll try to figure out all the numbers are.
Okay.
So I think his is genitive. It looks genitive.
Well, teriti almost looks genitive, but he's and cities, those long ISs, they're never genitive. A genitive third declension would be just normal IS, but a long IS is going to be blank or blank.
Dative or ablative.
Exactly. So that's like a dative and ablative kind of thing. Vitam miseram is what?
The direct object.
Good. And then sine spe. Maybe another.
Ablative.
Maybe an ablative object of sine. And vivemus means what? Anyone out loud? So we live. What do we live?
Can I say nothing?
Oh yeah. Jack, what'd you actually get?
I got by this frightening but
Why this frightening? Wow, interesting. Okay. Well, so what kind of participle is teriti, Jack?
would it be
Not future. So it's coming from a verb we get. Is that all the way back in chapter 1? Tereo, tereri, terui, teritum.
oh okay, so it's gonna be a passive perfect.
Yeah, and so passive perfect participle, that's going to be more like verbed. Perfect passive participles are the easiest ones because they kind of feel just like normal adjectives. So it can kind of almost just be something like terrified. Yeah, so like you can say having been terrified, but you can also just say terrified, and that's fine.
Oh, like being terrified by this plot.
Or having been
Having been
terrified by, not this plot, but it's plural hikaikai, these plots. But anyway, this is one of the few times vivo is actually going to get a direct object. So what do we verb here? We live a direct object. We live, so yeah, live doesn't, huh? Yeah, a wretched or miserable life, sine spe, without hope, having been terrified by these plots. So this is a very sad sentence. What kind of ablative is his and city? Anyone? This is kind of a cool.
Ablative.
I want to say it's agent, but plots, I guess, aren't a person, and so I guess it's actually just means. But good guess. Yeah, perfect passives often will have ablative agents. This is more, I guess, ablative of means, but it's kind of like in the gray area between that almost. But anyway, yeah, so let me actually click through a little bit. So matching the word order a little more, we would start with terrified by these plots. We live a wretched life without hope. And if you wanted to say having been terrified, that's okay. If you wanted to say since or when we were terrified by these plots. But I think that sounds weird. But the book reminds us we can whip out since and when if we need to for perfect passive participles. What else? Is there anything else weird about this? Oh, the ending of teriti. Okay, so hopefully you're able to figure out, because like we know with all these sentences we're going to be looking for participles. So with that, hopefully you were like, I know that's a participle, but then you should ask yourself, but why is it getting the long I ending? What does that mean? What is the long I agreeing with? Do we know? And enterity, what is it agreeing? Like, why is it long I as opposed to anything else? Why isn't it like matching he and city use or something? Anyone?
Is it going with A?
Not really. What is the actual subject? Yeah, it's first plural. So it's agreeing with the we, like the off-screen we. So it's like getting that long I, which is basically just going to be from like a second declension. I guess this is like a masculine group of people that are all men, and so it's getting the long I. Yeah, kind of weird. Any more questions on this one? Don't worry, guys. We'll get the hang of these participles. They are crazy, so you kind of have to be creative to translate participles, especially with this one. This one's weird. Is this one weird? Yes, it is weird. Who wants to read this one in Latin?
This is 5. Oh, I think I know what this one is.
We got 5 minutes. We can at least get through this one, maybe the next one. Let's see. Allie, let's hear from Allie.
Freedom, habentus, nihil est incertum.
Good. What do you think for this?
Have faith, nothing is uncertain.
Have faith, nothing is uncertain. That's really close, but have faith sounds like if, because this is from habeo, so you recognize it's from habeo, haberi, to have. But the way you're translating it, it kind of sounds like it's imperative or something. Like we're telling these people, like have faith. That'd be a habite, videm, and then like maybe it'd be a semicolon. Nothing is uncertain. So you're close. And what kind of participle is this, Allie?
Perfect.
Not perfect. Perfect will, that would be something like, it's let's see, habeo, haberi, habui, habitum. That'd be like habitim or habitim. But this is habentibus. So it's looking very third declension-y. It is actually what, anyone? Yeah, it's present active. Okay, it has this nt. So look out for the ns or the nt. That'll tell you it's present active. I know that seems like such a small detail. But with present active, what 3-letter ending in English do we like for that translation to have of a present active?
ING.
Yeah, we want to have ing. So even if you just tweaked it that much, Allie, and said having faith, comma, nothing is uncertain, that is basically right. But the thing I ran into is like, okay, so it's something like having faith, or like while having faith, kind of like when having faith, since wouldn't work here. But then why is Aventibus dative or adverb? This is like an honest question. What's like the dative that never ever came up last year? Maybe it came up all 3 times. Or Jack, do you have something else to say?
Wasn't it? Well, no, I was just gonna say because didn't we have like a first person ibis that applied to like I know, never mind. I'm thinking of third declension philia.
You might be, oh yeah, you're like filiabus and stuff.
Yeah.
You might be kind of thinking, well, maybe you're not then. If it's filiabus, which is like an irregular adverbative plural, we have this thing called the dative of purpose. So you could either do one of 2 things here. You could I guess it's just one thing. But so like having faith, nothing's uncertain. But I feel like we're missing something because it turns out that this habentibus is dative. Even these participles actually do have cases. Cases kind of matter. With a dative of purpose, or it's like dative of perspective. I might have just made up that dative, but something like for or to those having faith, nothing is uncertain. So we actually do know that to is a preposition that gets paired with the dative a lot. And for is something we have seen with something called the dative of purpose or reference a handful of times. Either of them actually work here. I wish we could get away without having them at all, but then we'd be ignoring the fact habentibus is dative, or it is actually dative though. So yeah, it's like to, as in like, in terms of the perspective of those having faith, nothing is uncertain. And I'm adding those. So I'm kind of doing what Jack did in his first translation, where he added a pronoun that's not actually there. That feels weird, right? I even don't like doing that. I wish there was kind of a way I could get away with translating this without those. I can't really think of one. This is kind of what I end up with. And that's like as good as I can do. But that happens with participial phrases. You sometimes need to add like whole pronouns, and you need to gloss the case even of the participle. But yeah, that's kind of crazy. It's almost like if there had been a he's there, that would have been nice. For those having faith, nothing is uncertain. Yep, weird.
All right, sure.
Maybe not. Maybe that person isn't certain. And this one, even though it's long, actually isn't that bad. Where? Oh wait. Oh, it's because There's no participle. That's why it's not bad. But this is a vocabulary exercise for sure. I'm sure there was a lot of words in here y'all didn't totally remember. We'll go over it tomorrow. What else do we do tomorrow? Oh, we're probably going to spot translate the other like units. So if you want to glance at those, it wouldn't be a bad idea because we're just going to be hanging out with those like units, really trying to nail down the whole participle thing, and we'll review chapter 14. All right, bye, Ben. Say
Bye.
say hi to
Goodbye.
Portier for me. All right,
Bye.
cool. See you.
See ya.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Okay, stop recording.
One more class and then.